Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Stephen the Warman Writes Kickfighting Podcast Show. I'm your host, Stephen the Warman. You are listening to this podcast in one of two ways. Either you are on my blog, which is lordgaul.podbean.com, or you are in the iTunes search engine, enter Warman Kickfighting Show into the iTunes search engine, and my show pops right up. I was on Spotify. I can't remember if I'm still on it. And, oh gosh, it's been a little bit. There were a couple other platforms. I just keep up mostly with the iTunes one and my blog. So I'll go ahead and jump right into this. Short show today because I talked forever last week. I just want to really talk about the big points and preview the Glory 100. But before I get into that, let's go ahead and look at one championship. So top of the order we have let's see, Jao Sayai as he gets a very knockout victory over Nakrab Fairtex. And here's my thing about this. I got my notes to the left on another computer. This is the kind of stoppage that you want to have when you are trying to make a statement as far as being a player in the division. He landed a good high kick, threw some boxing, had Nakrab in trouble. Then on the restart, did a jumping flying teep, wasn't able to get the finish, and as he was going for the finish with the boxing, Nakrab was bent over and he hit him with the kick on his way down. Absolutely awesome stuff. We'll go into, I guess I expect to see, a little bit more from JSOI. Very good finish there. Alif gets a victory over El Mahdi El Jamari, but let me tell you something about El Jamari. I thought, as undersized as he is, because Alif was like a significantly taller than him. Like it looked, he was significantly taller. Not just you hear the numbers sometimes. You'll hear like this guy is 5'11" and this guy is 5'6". You'll hear that, but when you see it, it was clear that he was a smaller guy, but man, did he fight to the best of his ability. Like he threw heat whenever he got inside. He ripped to the body. He ripped over the top. He brought the kind of fight that you want to see. I want to see him again. I'd love to see him even against a shorter guy. Doesn't matter to him. I know he's down to fight whoever, but man, when I saw him, I was like, whoa. Alif is tall. He's rangy. He's able to score from a distance. Able to get the kicks and the boxing going. Ever able to get off the line, but I was really impressed with the Moroccan fighter as he continued to battle and push forward. Next fight in the card, I'm going to talk about Diego Paz, as he gets a victory over Johan Ghazali. Ghazali is very talented, and this was a very close back and forth fight. Diego is super talented too. One of the most interesting things about him is his fight rhythm is a little odd. What I mean by that is it changes a lot. It goes from he played with a spinning elbow a lot, but one of the main things is sorry, I got my laptop knocked off. One of the main things I noticed was I felt like he could have scored whenever he wanted to with a combo to low kick game, but he would always switch it up, go with a switch kick, always switch it up, focus on the boxing, have these periods of inactivity. Whereas, Gazani kept pushing, Jojo kept pushing. He was landing good offensive spots. Both guys, it was back and forth. It was really good action. I really liked Diego's work in the clinch. He did a lot of framing, a lot of pushing away the face, a lot of working inside and winning the arms and the collarbone, a lot of finding offense in those spots. I'd say the more significant offense in the spots with the elbows. His spinning elbow, he was committed to it, but I didn't like it as a consistent score as some of his other scores. But, I think that kind of stuff can win scorecards, and later in the fight, Jojo was trying to do it back, which means he either felt something significant or he felt like, hey, this guy's, taking over the fight with these offensive strikes. I'm going to do my own. So really good stuff. Split decision. Diego Paz gets the victory. And shout out to USA. I'm going to talk about a little bit more later about the K1 cards coming up in America. But we have talented coaches and we have talented athletes because the pool to pull from as athletes in America is really large. But not everybody goes into combat sports. In America, where American football, basketball, other sports take the lead as far as what athletes want to do. Because of that, people think that we're down on kickboxing. We don't have organizations that are doing shows on a regular basis. So it's hard for us to develop the talent. But man, Diego Paz, we've got something. There's special talent. Hopefully he continues his winning ways. Next up, I'm going to talk about a whole card. I'll go ahead and finish this with the Takai Nato victory over Johan Stupinan. Let me tell you something about this fight with Johan. And number one, Very, very good stuff by Nato to get the boxing. We scored big with the punches. He got knocked down in round one, and he was doing a good job of throwing in punches when his spots and then moving. But Johan, if you want to see how do you fight when you take a knockdown, this was it. For the next two rounds, he was on kill mode. He got in the pocket and he started throwing heat to the body and heat to the head. The whole time, it felt like, and it was true. Like when you watch a sporting event and a team gets a really big lead, and then you see the other team chip away, chip away, chip away, and you ask yourself the question, will they have enough time to pull this off? That's how I felt here. Because really, and I'm messing up his last name, but Estupinian did a really, really good job. A really good job of this is how you fight when you're down. Because there's few things that's more frustrating as a coach, and as a fight fan, than when someone gets a knockdown or somebody's clearly down after two rounds and then you see them start to build. Then you start to see them start to come back. And they produce a fight where, let me reframe that. I'll go ahead and say it like this. There's few things more frustrating than watching a combat sports event when someone is losing rounds one and two, or where someone gets a knockdown, but it doesn't change how they approach the fight. They don't approach it as this is something I can lose. They go out and they treat round three like round one. Whereas if you're down and you know you're down, at this point, if you're going to get a victory, everything you throw, there can't be no setups. There can't be no, hey, I was fulfilling them out. Something in you's got to just fight. Get in there, be violent, throw heat, stop trying to think everything, push the pace. Now, I'm not saying don't go jab, jab, cross. Like, don't let your lead hand lead you in. I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm saying is don't try to be tactical when you're down. If you're down, you really want to, especially like when there's a knockdown involved, something in you has got to be, hey, instead of trying to figure this guy out or figure this girl out, I just got to throw heat and see what happens. There's a point in fights where that comes up. Not all fights. This is specifically for when you are down. And if you've been trying to do something for a couple rounds, working off your jab, see if you could, set traps with your hooks, see if your low kick game will open up your head kick game, all fine when the score is close or when someone's up. But man, there are points when you're like, okay, what can I do to win scorecards? Because as I got older, my opinion on scorecards changed. I used to think it was the person who landed the most significant offense. Now I feel like the person who wins is the person who makes the round about them. Who is the story of this round about? So I look at something like this where Johan lost round one to NATO because of the knockdown. And even though he wasn't able to bring the scorecards back, he lost the majority decision. The next two rounds was him looking for the kill and NATO looking for the defense. So that's what the best you can hope for. Treat this as getting the victory is of significant value to me. I'm going to go out there and let it go. So good stuff there. I will go ahead and wrap that card up there. There was Arion Esparza got a victory over Ricardo Bravo, and then Tigri Kalikov got a victory. Kalilov got a victory over Lian Shiju. So that will round out that card, and I will go ahead and move on to the big one championship, or let me see. No, I don't want to talk about that one championship card yet. I'll save that for another show. I'm going to really focus on. I was going to talk about the big announcement that one championship is going back to Japan. They just announced that today. And of course, it makes sense. They've signed a lot of Japanese athletes. And for them to get the gate they want, clearly in Thailand, you can only charge so much for the ticket price. So they can do good in terms of house numbers, but they can't sell a gate that's going to really bring in, or sell a ticket price that's going to bring in a big gate. Japan, they can, especially if they've got Takeru, if they've got Masaki Nori, Kana, they'll probably use her again. It was pretty much a Japan versus the world card when they had the last one there. So just quick note that they are returning to Japan later in the year. Let's go ahead and jump into can barely talk. Let's go ahead and jump into Glory 100 on DAZN, their first big show in DAZN. This should be a great one. This should be the fights in here. This is going to be one of the big kickboxing cards of the year. It's one of the great kickboxing cards of the year. One of the great kickboxing cards in history if the action holds up. But as far as matchup for matchup, you really are getting the best of the world. And the top of the fight card is as amazing as you can possibly get. So I'll go ahead and start going through it. So, of course, we still have We've got super fights. We've got the heavyweight tournament. It's kind of working its way out. So I'll go ahead and get through some of these. I've got Lefern Fernandez, and he takes on Samuel, Pugliese. I hope we're pronouncing that right. The Italian fighter. This should be a solid fight. Now, I don't think the winner of the heavyweight tournament will come from this bout. I feel like there are some other fights that got some better talent, but I do think this is a fun banger to get get the fight started off. And then we have Iraj Azapor as he gets Inoit Lanku. Let me tell you something about Azapor. He's one of the most interesting guys. I think his record's like 70-7, and he's from Iran, if I remember correctly. And the reason why I bring him up is because most of his career is IFMA Muay Thai amateur, but still world class level. And this guy had some really good runs in the IFMA. I believe he won it a couple times, but he had a one championship contract. I remember he's there for a little bit, and now here he is fighting, in glory. And he's a talent. Older now, not the best athlete, but man, this guy just he can fight. He can find his offense. I don't even think that there's always a rhythm to it. It's not always boxing the low kick game. He just sometimes this one's with the knees and this one's with the body kicks and this one's with the low kicks. He brings something different every single time. I know they've used several times before. This should be a good fight. I love. Romania has always had a good history of heavyweight kickboxing since I've been in the game, so it's really, really cool to see kind of, another athlete producing fighting at a high level. So we'll see what that produces. Next, we've got Asistala Nasipov as he gets Anis Abozid. That is let me see, that's third heavyweight fight on this card as far as going to the tournament. Two guys who I know some of, but haven't seen a lot of. So then this will be a good fight, good kickboxing fight for us to get into. George Collin, Colin George, who I know a lot of, as he gets Nico Horta, who I also know a lot of. This should be a good one. And this fight could produce one of the guys to really get a good run in this tournament. George is an absolute monster. Really big guy at the weight class. Not always the biggest hitter, but still has a really clean, effective offense when he gets his stuff going. Just sometimes the defense isn't the best, so people can get the offense back, but he's still a really good talent. And then as far as Nico Horta, he's been in glory. He's had a couple outings and more than a couple outings, and he's a solid heavyweight. This is a solid heavyweight field, not one that jumps off the page. We're not talking 2009 K1 World Grand Prix or nothing like that. But we still have a good, pretty solid card of good heavyweights. And then the last heavyweight card, we got just two more. We've got Milos Czeksinen, and then we versus Kim Caceres. Kim Caceres goes in the tournament. He's a guy who I would expect to see at the end. He's got the talent to get himself to the end, so good stuff there. And then we have Berjan Paporsi against Denise Demakupa. And then I have Muhammad Tucci in a catch weight with Serkan Askalayan. That fight right there, Muhammad Tucci against Serkan Askalayan. Askalayan's really putting it together. When he gets his offense going and he can stop guys, he's like all entertainment. He brings a lot of fun. Muhammad Tucci is a regular who they've used in glory a lot. Hasn't had the best win-loss record against some of the elite guys, but it should be a pretty fun scrap. And that will take on the super fights. I'm going to go ahead and move into the main card fights. A lot of stuff here that I'm really excited about. So we got Mori Krama as he gets Alim Nichita. It's another one of the heavyweight fights. And then Bahram Rajabzada as he gets, I believe it's Azrin Gashi. This is going to be one of the better fights on the card. And here, let me tell you something about Rajabzadi is, gosh, how do I say? I would say he is one of the bigger veterans in glory in a very short period of time. I feel like in the last year and a half, he's probably fought twice as much as everybody on the roster. That's how active this guy is. I feel like he's on every card in Europe. I feel like if it's a short notice fight, he hops in there. He made himself some good money by being available and being healthy, but most importantly, being violent. Like when he gets in there, he's throwing heat. He's a good athlete for the division because he's really like a light heavyweight. So He's a really good talent, and I'm excited to see what happens with him moving forward. This fight with the back and forth, Gassi's talented, clean kickboxing, has the ability to win this one. But man, whenever you talk about, Rabzazada, you're talking about a guy who, how do you figure out how to keep this guy off of you when he's just throwing heat for 3 rounds? Like, he is coming, he wants a stoppage, he's not trying to get a decision. He'll take a decision, but he's here for the kill. So it should be a fun one. It's going to be a really good one, really good fight, and I'm glad to see he's on the card. Next on my notes, I've got Tariq Cookie Asari as he gets Luigi Gassi, the other Gassi. Cookie had a fantastic run. He won, he won a tournament, got his opportunity with Rico, and I think people were critical of him because, as I mentioned earlier, when things weren't going Cookie's way, it didn't feel like he turned it up. It didn't feel like he, okay, I'm down these rounds. I'm just throwing heat in the next round. I felt like he stayed tactical, and then the fight got away from him, as I was mentioning earlier in the show. So as he moves forward with this one, I mean, this is another opportunity for him to. He's got the size, he's got the KO pop, he's got the kickboxing skill when he lets it go. I'm curious if it happens this time because he's got every skill, but he can literally go out there and win by KO. He can also go out there and watch a decision pass him. So should be good stuff. But I'm glad that he's back in the card. And Luigi Gashi, this is, if he gets the win, it's the kind of thing that propels him into the top, so that he's in the conversation with some of the elite guys. So really good stuff if it happens. And then of course we've got however the tournament plays out with those rest gentlemen, and we will finish the show by talking about 4 title fights, pretty much all Glory's titles. Except it's really the elite of the elite, and it should be a fun one. We'll go ahead and talk with Petch Spanarong, Kitmu 9, longtime champion. He goes against Miguel Trindade. They've fought a few times now. Petch has won. They had the tournament in Rise last year. Petch was the victory, got the victory there. Miguel Trindade has every ability not to just be the Glory champion, but to be one of the great kickboxing stars in the world. He has the look, he has the offensive aggressiveness, he's got the KO pop, he's got the highlight reel. The thing is, his game, as far as moving forward and finding big offense, it's really tough to have success with Petch with, because Petch plays on the back foot. He plays conservative. He looks for the body kick. He ties you up when you get close. He's got a good single kick game. He can land boxing from a distance. And the last time they fought, he was doing a great job of keeping, Trinidad from getting out of first gear. Like, he never was able to turn it up, never able to land the heat that he's used to landing. It will be interesting to me to see how Miguel Trindade takes this one. Like, how he goes into the fight, what his approach is, how he plans on having offensive success. I'm really, really curious what their game plan is. How do they change things up after what happened in the last one? He has all the ability to do it. And remember, for him, it just takes one. He does he's got that kind of hitting power. If he can touch you, he can get you out of there. But Patch is a longtime champion, and he's seen it all. He's seen it all, and he's gone against hitters forever. I mean, we keep forgetting that. He's long enough, been in this game long enough, been champion long enough to fight Robin Van Roosmalen, who has felt like he's been retired from kickboxing for 6-7 years. But he got the title from Robin, if I remember correctly. And he is going to be tough to beat for as long as he is in the kickboxing world. Next fight, we're talking about Donovan Vize as he gets Michael Bopea. Michael Bopea coming off the performance and the really, really good showing that he had out in Miami with the calf kicks and the boxing. The Dutch are starting to get physically prepared for the calf kicks. I'm seeing a lot more of them in kickboxing, but now when I was at the Glory Card in Miami with my fighter Delvin Nichols, I noticed that the calf resistance is getting stronger, which means enough people are doing it in practice for it to not be a surprise. And we'll see how that shows up. Clearly, in the last one, I mean, he just absolutely blew the Romanian fighter out of the water with it, if I remember correctly. Just never got into the fight because of how many chops that he received. So if I look at this one, I go, okay, the boxing's always been good. He's always had clean offense. But when you go against Donovan Vize, you pretty much got to be perfect, because he is really, really confident in his guard. He's really confident in his combination of the low kick game. He's really confident in finding his boxing in spots. He's really confident in walking in the corner, double jabbing, pawing, splitting your guard with the knee. he's one of the best of all time. He's really building his resume. I only feel bad that he didn't get the opportunity to get, opportunity with Alex Pereira before he went out. That always, you always want to beat the long running champion when you get the opportunity. You would rather them not retire and then you get to fight for the title. It's always cool if that happens, because everybody wants to be a champion. But man, it's to your benefit as building your star to get the old guy on their way out. And that wasn't the case here. But Donovan Visa has been a dominant champion. He has gotten his hands raised a lot of times, and he's gone against. This is their, second, third time fighting. He's running the table again. He's already run the table. He's running it again. That's how dope this guy is. Should be an absolutely great fight between Donovan Visa and Michael Popea. I'm excited to see it. Next, we got Tariq Kababez as he go against Sergey Masaboyev. Of course, you guys know how I feel about Sergey Masaboyev. I mentioned in the podcast before, he's one of the few international guys that I was able to sign when I worked for Glory. Like, I was able to make an argument. I say, I think this guy's got high-level talent. We've been reaching out with each other over Facebook. And then Cor Hemmers, as we had talked, he goes, hey, I think this is a guy that we're good to run with. And Masaboyev ended up being light heavyweight champion, and he's had success. But in the last, they had the one night tournament. He got cut. Just some unfortunate things. The injury with Abenya, but excuse me, I believe it was a cut. He's high level, and he's in the conversation to be one of the better fighters in the world at his weight class, and this would cement that. Of course, you get Tariq Kababez, you got one thing coming. He is coming all 5 rounds. Combinations of low kick. He's not afraid to get hit. He's going to stay in the pocket. He's a hard man. Like, he's going to stand in there. He's going to find his offense no matter what you throw his way. So this fight, like the others, has got all the potential to be just your fight of the night. Just wonderful back and forth. I'm excited to see where this goes. A little bit more technician and movement from Masabayev, a little bit more skillful in terms of like how he plays the game with his head. But Kababez can shut all that down by just walking you down, throwing heat with his hands, and finishing with a low kick chop. Very, very high level fight, and I can't wait to see it. We then finish with Artem Vakhitov attempting to beat the longtime king Rico Verhoeven. This is an all-time great fight. This is an all-time great fight. I don't even know what the result's going to be. All I know is one of the great elite strikers I've ever seen in my life in any combat sports is Artem Vakhitov. And it's crazy because he's always had the rhythm and the switch stances and the clean boxing. And, he can throw power 3-2 from both stances. He finds his kicking angles. He finds good situational knees. He finds strong boxing to the body and to the legs. Just an elite talent. And, we're talking about a guy who's got a victory over Alex Pereira. If you ask me, he's got 2 victories over Alex Pereira. So we're talking about elite. And you're talking about Rico Verhoeven, you're talking about all-time great. You're talking about a guy who just loves challenges. There's no reason for him to keep kickboxing other than the fact that he loves kickboxing. Like, he just always trying to prove himself. There's always someone around the corner. He decided to be in that tournament. He doesn't have to be a tournament. He's a longtime champion. He decided to be in the one night heavyweight tournament because he wanted to prove something to himself. He wanted to prove that, hey, this thing that everybody else has in their resume, the Badr Hari's, as successful as Badr Hari was and as big a star as he wasn't able to capture one of those great tournaments. But Remy Bonjowski, Peter Arts, Ernesto Hoost, they did. I want to be considered in that all-time great elite conversation. So I've got to win one of these tournaments. So he went out, won one of those tournaments, defended his title. Cookie won a tournament to get the opportunity to fight him. He beat Asaro. We're talking about a guy who, and I've praised his career so much. He avenged a lot of his losses. I remember when he lost to Errol Zimmerman, and then he came back and he stopped Errol Zimmerman. I remember when I was sitting down with Simon Roots, who ran at Showtime at the time, and Simon Roots was saying, I believe that Rico Verhoeven is going to be the future of kickboxing. He's going to be the biggest star. He's going to be a champion for a long time. And they got knocked out by Ben Sadiq the next day. And then he didn't let it stop him. Went right back to work, right back to the gym, avenged the losses that he had, was able to get those wins back. He's got now 2 back-to-back wins over, Ben Sadiq. So anybody that he struggled with the exception of one, he's had a lot of success, and he's had a great run. He's been champion in glory for a long time. I just saw something the other day online where it said he's been champion for more than 4,000 days. that matters because of how much he's fighting. I mean, he had the injury where he's out, but man, he what four fights thanks to a tournament, sometimes three in a year. I mean, for a guy who's one of the most successful kickboxers of all time financially, he's really out there still doing it. So we're talking about elite of elite. He's got the long jab, he's got the clean right hand, he's got the low kick work to any leg. He can get your lead leg, he can get inside of your rear leg that everybody's calling the Yukiyosa now, even though Rico's been doing it for a little bit. He can rip to the body. He's got good boxing, and he's got that Wolverine. If he goes down, he's been able to get up and come back and get stoppages in fights. So we really are talking about one of the great fights of all time. When I look back on this year, um, you know, God forbid there's some sort of injury or cut that keeps this from happening. But if skill is allowed to determine the winner in this fight, we're going to see a really, really excellent fight. So that's it. That's going to wrap up for the Glory breakdown. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is I mentioned a little bit before last week's podcast, but I just wanted to bring it up tonight or today. K1 is coming back to America, and it's their first show in 10 plus years. I want to really shout out Scott Jones of Husky Fat Promotions. He and I have been working together with K1 as far as bringing K1 back to America. The card is split. The first half of the card is K1 or Texas versus the world, and it's an amateur card. We're a bunch of Texas. Texas is a huge state. We're gonna bring in talent from across the country to come and compete against the talent from Texas. So the amateur part of the card is Texas versus the world, and the main card is some of the better pros that we have in the USA, like Mason Strodeman, who won the Husky Fat Tournament 155. We've got Anthony Riles. I think is going to be one of the better fighters in the world at 138. He's my guy. We've got just guys coming down from New York. Kimon Diop reached out, who used to fight for Glory. We're trying to figure something out there. Luis Morales, we're working on locking him in from Ace of 10 Pounds Gym. I am trying to put together one of the better kickboxing cards, and I'm so grateful that Scott is able to, Scott Jones and I are able to sit down and work out, put this together, and Scott's given me a lot of freedom to make, work with the matchmaking, and, we're going to try to put it together big. We're going to work on the spectacle. We don't want just simple walkouts. We want people to remember that they saw a great kickboxing show, because we want to do our part to get this thing going. I love kickboxing. I love mixed martial arts. I love boxing. And I do promote in Texas, and I've done cards we call mixed cards that has all three. But my heart is in kickboxing. It is where I got my start. It's where I fell in love. And K1 fans, K1 USA, Kakatugi, I couldn't wait to get up and go to the forums 3-4 times a day to talk about kickboxing, because I didn't know anybody who knew kickboxing. So I had to go to the forums to connect to those people. And back in the days where I was fighting and I'm just going to these gyms for just fighting events and there's no sanctioning body, I'm just doing whatever I can to build a fight record. I look back at that time and it was special, and I'm never going to get it back. So to be a part of bringing K1 back to America after having a dream of being able to be a fighter in K1, it's just really surreal to me. So I'm really grateful. So thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. God bless. Be safe. Get under zone. Watch Glory 100. It really is a special event. Peace. You guys have a good one.